ANC veteran Ronnie Kasrils says that for the first time in his life, he cannot tell people to vote for the ANC without qualifying his statement. I quote him, "I have been a person who was so involved in mobilization for ANC votes, I must confess that I can't do this today," the former MK head of intelligence and former minister told the Mail and Guardian newspaper. Ronnie Kasrils joins me today to discuss this and other issues. Ronnie Kasrils, thanks so much for joining us. So we've been looking forward to having this interview for a very long time. If the ANC, which is 102 years old and has such strong roots in human rights, in so much character based on its long history, how come it's in so much ethical and moral trouble today? How can it tolerate a scandal such as Nkandla and Marikana?
Well, the saying is that the fish stinks from the head, and the leadership of this organization that has served this country and people so well for so many decades is a very irresponsible leadership. They've gone off track. I don't want to go through the litany on a menu, but mention Marikana, one of the biggest blights. That's the state. That's a ruling power at the helm. Of course, the Nkandla issue has blown up, but there's a litany of corruption, of abuse of power, and it's been gathering to a tremendous degree these last 5 years. And that really is a disgrace. It lets the ANC down. As someone whose whole life was spent within the ANC, and my whole life was transformed for the better as a result, this is something that one has to speak up about, because if there's continuing denialism that everything in the garden's rosy, whilst everybody within knows how bad it is, but says we've got to be loyal, don't wash the dirty linen in public, where does that lead the ANC? It's just going to go from bad to worse.
A lot of people say that the ANC always finds its way, that if it loses it, and it has done so in the past, it always manages to self-correct. Do you think this African National Congress can self-correct?
It's a nonsense statement, a belief in some kind of magic. And I know that the loyalists, and they say to me, Comrade Ronnie, they're optimistic, it'll come right, it'll come right. But of course, you can't say that. Where on earth does this simply happen? If things come right, you've got a number of factors that are needed. You've got to have a big change from within. You've got to deal with all the problems, with all the corruption, with all the self-service. And the election comes up, and this is where the public of South Africa can speak. And this is why I am not going to vote the ANC, and it's for the sake of the ANC, because I feel they can't lose power. The ANC will be returned with around 60%, maybe a couple of percent up on that. But the ANC, the membership, and the leaders above all need to be woken up to the fact that people in this country are very disconcerted at what they're doing.
You are not the only person who is disgruntled, who finds some of the things that are happening of concern. But a lot of people would turn around and say to you, Ronnie Kasrils, you've led us in the past. Tell us now, if we don't vote for the ANC, a liberation movement that we've given our lives to, such as you have, who do we vote for? What's the alternative?
Well, there's a tactical vote that one can go in for. There are a number of parties, given the democracy that we are and the right to choose. I give examples of other countries. Take Britain, where a single MP, George Galloway of the Respect Party, expelled by Labour, where he had been all his life, came into Parliament, stood up to Tony Blair and the invasion of Iraq, and had tremendous connection with the people of Britain, the working people, etc. And he carries on with that kind of record. So a smaller party and the return of somebody, a few people from a party, can make a difference in raising the debate and putting the positions to the ruling power.
Gwede Mantashe, the Secretary General of the ANC, has said someone like yourself, someone like Trevor Manuel, someone like Jay Naidu, that you guys are acting like free agents.
Yes.
And so you're not following the party line. What do you say to that?
Well, you know, free agent, what a twist, what a turn. Unfortunately, there are people within the ANC and the liberation movement, when they hear the word agent, they think you're spies. And I think he chose the term agent knowingly. Free agent, of course, means we're irresponsible. We're not responsible to anybody. We're responsible, and Jay is, Trevor Manuel is, I am, and many others. We are, in the first place, responsible to the people of our country and the Constitution. That's something higher than loyalty to a party. But in each case, all three, I won't just talk about myself, we very engaged with the people at the grassroots, even within ANC Communist Party structures, especially with COSATU, and the ordinary Abantu, Jikelele, South Africa, people all over. All three of us are very engaged. And this is a fluid situation. Other movements and organizations are coming to the fore.
Let me ask you, you know, our problems are, you know, there's problems within the ANC and with scandals in society like Marikana, Nkandla, and others. But one can't confine it to that. We have a massive unemployment problem. We have 7 million people sitting at home without jobs. We have service delivery protests. Some of these emanate from your government and your negotiations of 1994. Don't you take responsibility for that?
Yes, sure, we must. Absolutely. I'm not saying that my record in politics and post-94 is as pure as the driven snow. Of course, one makes errors in politics, in government particularly. The thing is to recognize and to try and change and make amends. And we've got to speak up through the knowledge we've had in the past and say, guys, we learned from those errors. We didn't take the economy into our grip. We tended through the concessions post-94 to leave the leading aspects of the wealth of this country, the productive forces, the mines, big industry, banks and so on, purely where they had resided before. Bit of a change through the emergence of black economic empowerment, but we still committed and connected to the way South Africa has operated for decades, even over a century.
But we're celebrating now 20 years of a fantastic democracy where journalists can speak freely and investigate freely. Surely that's a great achievement.
I'm not saying that there haven't been wonderful changes. I am so happy in this country, not with government, but when I see freedoms which we enjoy, which we fought for, enshrined in the Constitution and Bill of Rights. I fight for the freedom of expression, the right of the media, etc., even when we don't like what they say. And when I'm depressed because of secrecy bills and other aspects of government, I walk with my wife on the beaches and the parks, and I see kids of all races enjoying the same privileges. I grew up in South Africa where only white people had that, and that makes this huge difference.
Ronnie Kasrils, thanks so much for your time. I'm afraid we've run out of time, but it's been an honor and a pleasure speaking to you.
Fantastic, thanks.
After the break, our winner and loser of the week. Stay with us.
News that moves. eNCA.com.